Hey everybody, this is David Branderhorst, and in this video we're going to be talking about how to ride the entrepreneur roller coaster. Now before we get started, if you could remember to hit the like and subscribe buttons to be notified of future content, we would greatly appreciate that. Now, being an entrepreneur is a highly emotional journey. There are times when you're doing well, when things are going really, really great. Perhaps you just made a really big sale, and this month the cash flow for your business is looking really, really strong and really, really good, and you're feeling really solid about things, and maybe you're starting to really make some gains on your financial goals, and you're starting to be able to set a good chunk of money aside, and you could see a much better future for yourself. You can see that the outlook for what you're doing is really positive. You're like, hey, if this keeps up, I'm going to be able to pay off those debts, or I'm going to be able to get myself some savings for the future. We're going to be able to take a vacation or do all those things. This is exciting. Some really positive things are happening. You know, or maybe you met with a client and that client told you just how much of a difference you're making in their life, the impact that you're having, the difference that you're making. You know, maybe you get an email or something that says how much they appreciated the work that you're doing. These are all moments where we leave where we just feel like, wow, I'm doing what I'm called to do. I am doing the thing that I'm supposed to be doing. This is my purpose in life. I'm doing it because what I'm doing is such meaningful work to me. The things that I'm engaged in mean so much to my heart and to my spirit that I know I'm on the right path. I'm doing the right thing. But then there are also days when things don't go right, when things don't go well. You know, maybe you just launched a new program or a new product and you put it out there in the market and it didn't sell. Or maybe you just spent a bunch of money on an ad campaign and you put it all out there and you're expecting to get a bunch of good qualified leads that are going to turn into customers, and it didn't happen. And now you're out all that money on that ad campaign and you feel like a fool. Like, why did I do this? Why did I spend all that money? Because it didn't work. Or, you know, maybe you were doing a joint venture, or maybe you had a business partner that you were working with and that business partner screwed you over. Maybe they were very dishonest and they promised you one thing and did another, and now all of a sudden you're left standing there going, what just happened? How am I now in this situation where I'm now in a really bad place? Or, you know, maybe, you know, there's social media changes or things. And these are all things that happen on a regular basis. These are all problems that occur. And what it does is it causes us to go on these highs and these lows. And for an entrepreneur, the highs and the lows are even more extreme. And the reason for that is we take everything personal. You see, when you're working for another company, for someone else's business, you can always say, well, it failed because my boss screwed it up. It failed because our program isn't what it should be. It failed because of something other than me. But when you're an entrepreneur and you're doing these things on your own, you start to internalize everything. You start to hit that point where you're saying, that failed because I wasn't good enough, because I didn't do the right thing. That failed because people didn't want me. They didn't want what I was doing. And we start to take everything personal. So our wins become these euphoric moments and our losses become these devastating lows. And if you're not careful, it can destroy you. It can absolutely throw you completely out of the game. It can mess you up emotionally and mentally. And it can cause you some significant problems in your life. So how do you overcome that? And this is what we're going to be talking about today. Some steps that you can take to manage this process a little bit better. Some things that you can do to keep yourself from going all these high highs and these low lows and watching yourself get whiplashed back and forth all the time. How do you establish a baseline? How do you establish a level where you can operate where you're not getting whipped about left and right all the time? So let's talk about this today. We're going to talk about a few things. And the first one I want to bring up for you is you need to learn how to manage expectations. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, there was a simple thing that I learned several years ago, and that was kind of like, what makes a person happy? When are you actually happy? Well, happiness occurs when your expectations are meeting your life experiences. Like, let's think about it this way. Let's say you are taking a test. Go back to the days of being in school. Let's say you're taking a test and you thought, I aced that test, I should be getting 100 on it, and that's your expectation. Like, I killed it. That thing was amazing. I knew all the answers. I did great. And so you get the test back, and sure enough, you got 100% on that test. You go, yes, exactly what I thought. You're happy, you're satisfied, because the outcome, the actual circumstances met your expectations. You're on the same page. But let's say you get that test back, and the expectations come back, and you got an 85, and you're like, what? What just happened? I was sure I aced that thing. I was sure that I got everyone right, and I didn't. Now all of a sudden the happiness is gone. Now all of a sudden that euphoria is over, and now you're in this dejected place because you're like, I was sure that I nailed it. I was sure I got everything right, and I didn't. And now you're trying to scratch your head and trying to figure out what went wrong. Well, the same things happen in your business. If you go in expecting everything to be perfect all the time, and if the results come back and they're not perfect, you are going to be in for disappointment on a daily basis. And you need to really guard against that. And the best way to do that is to manage the expectations, is to have expectations that are realistic, expectations that are actually something that could reasonably happen and that are going to be there, and know that life isn't going to be easy all the time. It's in knowing that challenges are going to happen, that there are going to be moments where you're sitting there going, that didn't work, but that's okay. I know there are challenges in there, because you see, far too many times, this is what we think success is supposed to look like. We have this, I'm going to start a business, I'm going to put my stuff out there, people are going to buy my services or my products, and I'm going to start making good money, and I'm going to break free, and I'm going to leave my job, and everything's going to be great, and everything's going to work out beautifully. And you start having that vision of what you think success is. Well, the reality is, this is more what success looks like. There are bends in the road. There are twists and turns. There are times where you're going backwards. There are times where things are not going well at all, but you stay with it, you work through it, and you keep moving forward, and eventually, yes, you do get there. But if you go in with the expectation that this is going to be straight up, there's going to be no bumps in the road, everything's going to be great, you're going to be very unhappy, and you're going to be getting whipped around on that emotional roller coaster because you're expecting everything to go perfectly, and that's just not how life works. The second thing that you need to do is you need to focus on solving the next problem. Look, when we are running our own businesses and we're doing these things, there's always something going wrong. There's always something that isn't what it should be, and there can be lots of things at any moment in time that aren't perfect, that aren't exactly where you want them to be, that aren't what you want. And as a result, you can sit there and start making this list in your head. I got to fix this. I got to take care of that. I got to deal with this issue. I got to worry about that. And it gets very easy to become overwhelmed. It becomes very easy to let this get to you and to really bring you down, because all you think about are the problems. And it's just one after another after another. And what ends up happening is you can't even focus because you're trying to solve 6 problems at once. Now, an old mentor of mine always told me, he said, David, solve the next problem. Don't worry about solving 6 problems. There may be 6 areas of your business that need a lot of work right now. There may be 6 things that really need to get taken care of, but focus on solving the next problem. Get that problem solved and move on to the next one. Get that problem solved and move on to the next one. And what ends up happening is, instead of you becoming overwhelmed and getting completely overrun by everything, you keep moving forward, because you knock that out, you move forward. You knock that out, you move forward, and you continue to make progress. Then the next thing you need to keep in mind is you need to celebrate your wins. This is, something entrepreneurs tend to have a very big problem with, because entrepreneurs are always focused on what isn't perfect, what isn't right, what isn't done. What do we need to do? Yeah, that isn't right. We don't stop and think about what we need to what we did well, and as a result, we're always focused on problem. But when you stop and celebrate a win, what happens is you start to recognize how far you've actually come. You start to recognize, hey, wait a minute, we have done this and this and this, and here's, you know, where it can really just rip you to shreds is you never appreciate the successes. You never appreciate the breakthroughs your clients are having. You never appreciate all the gains that you've made in your business, how much you've grown as a business owner, how much you've actually achieved and succeeded on. The next thing is stop moving the goalposts. Stop always, you know, saying that, well, we should have done this. Well, we did that, but we should have done this. We should have done even more. We should have done even better. Because we have this tendency that every time we achieve something, we set a new goal. In my last business, I was guilty of doing this all the time. I would sit there and go, wow, we just crossed 1 million in sales. Well, why can't we do 2 million? Wow, we got 2 million in sales. Well, why can't we do 3 million? And what ends up happening is you're never satisfied. You never have that moment where you're happy. You never have a moment where you're okay. It's always like, well, if we did that, why didn't we do this? If we did that, why didn't we do the next thing? And we're constantly moving those goalposts down the field to something that's just out of reach. And we never ever reach it no matter what, because every time we achieve the next goal, we move the goalposts. And that leaves us in a state where we feel we're always underachieving. We're always not doing as good as we should be doing. And as a result, it always leaves us in this negative state. It always leaves us in this mindset of, we're not where we should be. We're not doing what, you know, we're not as good as what we could be. We should have been doing a lot better, and we're not. And as a result, man, we really aren't doing all that well. Well, the truth is we're doing really well. And a great way to combat this, a great way to overcome this, is to do a gratitude journal. And this doesn't have to be anything formal. It does not have to be anything, you know, where you have a formal process for doing it. Just grab a notebook someday. Grab a little notebook and start writing down things on a daily or weekly basis that you are grateful for. And then every so often, go back and read through those things. Go back and read what you've written over the past several weeks or months. And when you do that, what you realize is you have a lot of blessings in your life that you need to be grateful for. And you have a lot of good things happening in your life. You just achieved this. You hit that milestone. You set that out into the world and it succeeded. There's so many things that you've done that you can be grateful for and that you can be excited about. But you have to put it in front of you, and you have to remind yourself on a regular basis about those things to keep you from getting overwhelmed by all the challenges that you're facing. Look, the simple truth of it is, being a successful entrepreneur is largely about winning the battle between your ears. We have all sorts of conversations going on in our heads. Some of them are very positive and productive and very helpful to us, and others can tear us down and destroy us if we're not careful. So we need to learn how to manage that. We need to learn how to manage that game in between our ears so that we know how to execute well out into the world, and we know how to do things in such a way that are going to allow us to be able to succeed. They're going to position us in such a way that we can have success and not self-destruct before we ever even get there. So take these issues to heart. I hope you take these moments and you reevaluate your own journey, and you use these, because they have been very powerful in my own journey, going through this process, learning how to do these things so that I can learn how to be grateful, that I can learn how to appreciate the success we have had, instead of always expecting myself to be further along than I am. So that's it for this video. I hope you found this helpful. As always, if you have comments or questions, please leave them below. Otherwise, I hope you have a great day, and I will look forward to seeing you again very soon. Take care, everybody.